Right, next up we have John Junasek. He says to address the feedback on the Battle Pass progression, we're going to be making some tune-ins, some changes. To start, we're going to be adding play one game challenges to help make sure you consistently progress. Hey folks, welcome to the first Halo Infinite developer blog review. We've got a few topics and a few tweets and things to discuss with you, the community. I ran this series throughout the lifespan of Gears 5 and I'd like to do the same for Halo Infinite. We have some topics to discuss, such as the Battle Pass. We have some quotes from the development team on the one-shotting with the Oddball and the flags, some free-to-play customization, and some esports skins. So if you're interested in that, let's dive right into it. All right, so the first one is a post that comes from Sierra419 on the Halo Reddit, and there is a developer response. So basically what this user asks is, ever since the CE edition of Halo 20 years ago, these two objects, referring to the skull that you use for Oddball and the flag that you carry and capture the flag, have been an insta-kill and they no longer are. He says it frustrates him that every single time he tries to melee somebody with one of these objective-based weapons, that it's not a one-shot. Also, he goes on to mention that the flag has no lunge, and he also has a fair complaint about the progression being painfully slow. So let's get the developer response. First of all, I'm going to read through the developer response and then we're going to have a chat about it. 343 Carnivore says, great thread, but I encourage everyone to keep it civil and out of the weeds with the historical semantics. It's not quite accurate that either of those objectives has always been a one-hit kill across history, but more importantly, precedent is only a small piece of the puzzle. Of course, it's annoying to come in with a certain level of expectation and have it unmet, and then feel like you need to relearn something needlessly. But it's more important that we put forward the best gameplay experience with the data and resources we have. I've tried one-hit kill on both of these objects for a while, as well as several other iterations in the vein of basically give the objective carrier more player fantasy, because naturally players ask for the primary thing the game mode tells them to do to be packed full of personal reward. It makes sense, and even though I didn't end up with a one-hit kill in the end, it's still a valid design path to go down. The net result of one-hit kill for either team tends to increase snowball too much, and the team with the objective advantage has an easier time competing their goal, and their opponents feel the task of rubber banding the scenario back in their favour too difficult or too far and too few between. To the puzzle that one-hit kill is somewhat dependent on levels, it's an even messier problem. The levels with lots of hard angles, for instance, add a bunch of player power to the one-hit kill in probably the most least fun way. If you could sum the feedback up and the data for one-hit kill in short terms, it would say objective carriers tend to report having a better time, and overall matches are less fun. So he's trying not to make it too long, and he says one-hit kills tend to make being the objective carrier more personally rewarding or fun for one player, whilst hurting the experience for the other 7. For your teammates, your assistance with the main goal is less important, and your opponent's effort can feel too futile. So I went with something more indirect. In Capture the Flag, you can contest the flag's automatic return by standing within the visible boundary. This means that if you need to hot drop it and fight, you don't need to also manage the flag's state return at the same time. In the past, you could lose track of the return time and make a major mistake in letting the flag return home because you were busy managing a fight. I personally feel that this added too much mental interference. Ideally, this makes dropping the flag for a fight a lighter and more comfortable decision. In Oddball, the skull carrier has a quicker melee, so almost any melee versus melee fight should favour the guy with a flaming skull. Ideally, this means that camping a doorway is less cheesy, but chaotic skirmishes lean a bit more towards the objective carrier. Now, these aren't perfect solutions, S-tier gameplay design or anything like that. I just wanted to share some of the journey and insight. In essence, we've intentionally chosen to emphasize teamwork rather than deliver lots of power fantasy to the objective character. Maybe I was wrong in the choice. Maybe it skews too far forward to the hardcore teamwork. Maybe there's a middle ground. The internet is here to cultivate change for a long time though, so please don't take this away as it's there forever and we won't change it. Okay, so having read that, I will agree that this is a very good post. Having dealt with other developers with less clear intentions and discussions, this is a really nice form of communication. So let's get that clear. This is a really good thing that whether you like the answer or not, it's out there, it's clear, and you can understand the theory behind the choice. The first thing I didn't quite like was when they say out of the weeds with the historical semantics. It's sort of, I understand where they're coming from, but it can come across as a bit like, listen, things have happened in the past, get over it, we don't care about your nostalgia, we're here for the future. And in some ways that's good, and in some ways that's bad. But it did initially, when I read the very first sentence, I thought, uh-oh, here we go. However, as the post progressed, it spun me round, and I began to appreciate the post. So the main, I guess, contention points are the following. They go on to say that effectively the reason for this decision was when you are carrying the flag or carrying the oddball, you don't want to feel useless, right? You don't want to feel like you're some lump that's just stood there helpless, not been able to protect yourself or make plays. So typically how you would do that with the objective is you would fight with the objective. That's effectively what they're saying. So you might not be able to defend yourself as well. You might not be able to drop the flag and manage the fight as much, but you would previously be able to fight with a one-shot kill. And people enjoyed that because not only were you playing the objective, you were also getting a nice little power boost of feeling, hey, not only have I got this, I've also got the skull, which is a one-hit kill. I am a bit frustrated with the way every single development team does use the word power fantasy, player agency, these buzzwords that I feel like have just been spanned down from corporate. But on the same breath, they do accurately describe what the developer is trying to put across, so it makes sense. Now, you could make an argument that when you're trying to get the oddball off somebody and their lunge knocking you out in one hit, that it can be frustrating. But I wouldn't argue that your teammates are going to dislike that. If someone's got the oddball and they're also defending themselves and killing enemies, I don't think that makes the game less fun for the other player. I can understand what they're saying. If the guy can solo defend himself, it feels like you don't need to defend him, and also because he has the ball, there's also less for you to do because you obviously don't need to capture the ball. So I can understand as well where he's saying that your teammates want to assist you because that is also fun. I just think that for Oddball, mainly, it does feel a bit bad with the ball. It pretty much feels like a death sentence. Now, in Capture the Flag, I can fully understand the feeling of the change. You can juggle it, you can manage the objective, like he says, and being able to put that flag down, manage the return status whilst fighting, I think it's a nice change. I don't think you need a flag, lunge, and melee at the same time, to be honest. However, I have felt as a player that the oddball one is a little bit frustrating. It feels like when you get that ball, you're just a complete sitting duck. You don't really want to drop the ball and fight. You don't particularly want to hold the ball and punch. You're just kind of a sitting duck. They're open to say, like, listen, this might not be perfect. We're going to have to figure this out. So I really do like this approach when discussing the game, because it shows that they're not just making these willy-nilly changes with no thought. There's definitely a lot of thought gone into this. Next is a positive response. This user just says that it's the best Halo since Halo 3, and they've absolutely nailed it. Now, we don't know how the campaign's going to play. We don't know how the battle pass is going to be tweaked and changed, but at the moment, gameplay-wise, it feels really, really solid, and you probably can make an argument that gameplay-wise, it probably is the best since Halo 3. Now, game modes and other things that aren't included in the game are letting it down personally. I would like to see other game modes, such as free-for-all, SWAT, just basically being able to play the mode I want. I understand that these days free-to-play games are all about managing player numbers, keeping retention high, and having too many basically playlists mean that certain playlists become less populated, and a knock-on effect of playlists becoming less populated is the popular ones become more popular and the least popular ones become even less popular. So I can see why they're trying to not have a ton of playlists. But last night when I was playing Ranked, I did feel a bit frustrated that I only really enjoy Ranked Slayer as solo duo or crossplay, and I enjoy SWAT. I'm not really able to play that. If I've got an hour or two to play a game, I don't want to spend that hour or two hoping that for 30 minutes I get the game mode that I actually enjoy. That's my take on it. Well, let me know what you think. Are the game modes decent? Should there be more or less? I'm okay with Ranked having set playlists for competitive. I think Ranked competitive should mirror what pros play, but I would like the option to go and personally play some solo Slayer, some FFA, some SWAT, and not be in that competitive environment, or be in it, whichever it may be. All right, next up we have John Junasek. He says, to address the feedback on the Battle Pass progression, we're going to be making some tune-ins, some changes. To start, we're going to be adding play one game challenges to help make sure you consistently progress. This basically means that every time you play, you're going to be able to get through the game a little bit quicker, a little bit through the Battle Pass a little bit quicker, because that challenge is going to be appearing more and more. I think there is a lot of work to be done, to be honest. I've had a lot of criticism in my small video that I made on the Battle Pass progression. If you're interested in that, it will be linked in the description or as a card on screen now. Basically, it just takes way too long to get through the progression. I like the way they're tackling this head on. There's been a lot of talk, and they're obviously discussing it immediately. He goes on to say that we'll be adjusting, fixing bugs, and removing some weekly challenges based on feedback, because obviously some of the challenges are just stupid. They just shouldn't be there. They're too difficult. They just become annoying, and if you get stuck on them, you feel like you're never progressing. This, by the way, reminds me heavily of Gears 5, where the opening Battle Pass / Tour of Duty had a lot of challenges that were very obnoxious to do. You had to really go out of your way to do them, and as a result, you would want to spend iron, or their in-game currency, which you had to purchase with real money, to buy a challenge swap. You will notice that there is a ton of challenge swaps. 60% of the Battle Pass is challenge swaps. So the knock-on effect here is, if we actually end up with a Battle Pass that is nice to progress through, one of the downsides is that 60% of the rewards, being challenge swaps, will now feel even less worthwhile because you won't need to use them. So again, I'm a little bit worried for the Battle Pass, to be honest. I think it's personally quite poor, but at least they're looking at changes. It says, when we make this update, you're going to want to reset your challenges, including your progression towards weekly ones. So to make up for the fact we're doing this, we're going to be granting this weekend's ultimate reward, the visor, to everybody who logs in from November the 23rd to November the 30th. So because they're going to have to fix a few things, they're going to give you a reward. Additionally, we're going to be doubling the duration of 2x XP boosts that now last 1 hour as opposed to 30 minutes. This will hopefully make people get the most out of them. I really dislike the fact that people sell boosts. Personally, the reason I dislike this trend is not necessarily that the boost exists. That's fine. It's more that because the boost exists, gameplay and progression systems have to be created with those in mind. So if you make it very, very nice and flowing for a regular player to progress through, then you're probably going to be way too quick with a boost. So what they usually do is they design the progression system with the boost in mind and make it very, very slow, so you could then be incentivized to buy boost, which I'm not a big fan of. We'll be looking at these changes closely to make sure they have a positive impact. This is only our first step, and we're committed to evolving these systems, because that's what these are, guys. They're systems, they're products. That's where consumers, sadly, that's what it is. But those are some updates on the Battle Pass itself. A few people have been posting some memes that your Spartan, your choice, can't wait to get involved, and everyone looks the same, and I agree. It says, if you're looking at free-to-play color schemes that work, have a look at Warframe. This is Warframe allowing you to customize some aspect of your character for free with a ton of different colors. I will say it's disappointing for me to be told you can create your custom Spartan just to basically only be allowed to select the color yellow and have a completely default guy. I understand that you're going to have to progress through the Battle Pass system, right? But a lot of those stuff are for the premium pass. As a free user, there's basically pretty much nothing for you to get currently that looks that enticing in terms of color schemes and all this. Or should I say, for I guess for a better word, there's not much. If there is something good, it's few and far between. So there definitely needs to be big tweaks to the Battle Pass. I don't think this is somebody hating, bashing the game. I think this is just a fair look at the game. Next up, we have the community are finally kind of realizing maybe what's wrong here. So the esports skins that you purchase and the armor, some of the armor that you purchase is kind of locked to that thing. Meaning if you buy this G2 esports skin and you just want to use the helmet on something else, you can't really do that. It's locked to that set. You can't really change the... It's not a painting that you're buying. It's not a paint that you can apply to another armor. It's saying that this is the armor you're buying. And if you want your guy to look exactly like this, you can do. But if you want to tweak it in any single way, you can't. Now, I did try to explain this on one of my videos, so check that out. Leave a like if you enjoyed that. Yeah, I tried to have a chat about the kits, that when you go ahead and you purchase one of these things, you're stuck with it. You can't go ahead and slap your phase chest piece with a yellow helmet and some cool shoulders. You can't do that. It's locked. And I don't like the way that is done. However, this is a thing that is in all games these days. It is just, you're buying a one-time skin. Free-to-play games and customization, they're trying to limit you. Why? Because they obviously want you to purchase something else. If you can buy a phase piece of gear and mix and match it and make loads of cool combinations and you're content with that, you're way less likely to purchase. If you lock it to a kit, then you are simply, again, more likely to dabble in that marketplace and purchase something to keep the game fresh. So with Warzone, you buy a blueprint with a skin, and if you want to tweak any of that gun, the paint changes, the skin changes, and you have to use that kit with those attachments. It's not like if you buy some orange paint skin and then you apply a red dot to it, the red dot becomes orange paint. No, you're locked to it, and the reason they're doing it is because it's effective. People use their skin, they play with it for a bit, and then they think, I'd like to switch this up, I'm going to buy another one. If there was a ton of customization where you could swap these kits about, people wouldn't do it as much. They wouldn't dabble in that marketplace, and that's bad for business. And that's what these games are, the businesses. Which is a bit of a disappointment. Speaking of businesses, we have Dr. Disrespect accidentally leaked on stream that he had a Halo skin, and now he has gone ahead and fully showcased it. Now, I have two things to say about this. I think, number one, it's really cool that big content creators get supported in franchises and get such cool stuff like this. I think the Doc AI, the robo suit, the long hair, I think it all fully suits Doc's character. I think it's going to look cool in game, and again, the AI thing fits. But there's this big part of me that worries, because when I see this AI, I don't see a reason for it to be in the game. I feel like it's been placed in the game so it pops up when you capture, or for things like this, so content creators can make skins that sell their cool AI, or they can sell AI in the shop. What this kind of feels like to me is they're not coming up with cool gameplay ideas and then figuring out how to monetize that. They're coming up with monetization ideas and then figuring out, how do we put this in gameplay? Also, like I said in my videos, Dr. Disrespect is like one of the content creators I really rate in terms of his honest opinions, and yeah, I really like his content, so this is like no shade, but it is kind of somewhat amusing that he was basically saying Halo Infinite wasn't that good and it's going to die off if it doesn't have a battle royale, and then he's getting a skin in the game. Look, if you were ever unaware, you're painfully aware now that it really doesn't matter what your stance is in the franchise, whether you're a world famous player, whether you're a nobody. If you are marketable enough and they think you will improve their sales of their products, you can get into a video game, which on one hand is cool, but on one hand it's kind of like, where does this stop? Because if we, you know, like I say, I like Doc, but if you think about this logically, what reason does Dr. Disrespect have to be in Halo? He's not on any of the Halo esports teams. He's not a big time Halo player or content creator. He's always playing COD. He's never spoken that highly of Halo, and recently he said that the game would die without a battle royale. So if you're thinking about it logically, the only reason that he's in this game is because the skin will help him keep playing the game, which means more stream viewers for Halo, and they can sell the skin, which means money for Doc, which incentivizes him to play Halo, because every time he streams, he's obviously going to use the skin, he can advertise it, and that in turn also helps Halo. I don't have too big of a problem with this. I just thought I'd point it out that, yeah, where does this stop? Because at this point, you could put any single famous person in the game. You know, that's kind of the way it is. And the last two posts that we've got here are people basically saying, I think I actually hate the fact that the game is free, because the game is free. They've had to lock all of the customization away and put it behind paywalls. And this person is saying the same thing. Sometimes I wish I'd rather have just paid the $60. But here's the thing. It just doesn't work anymore. If you make the game $60, it doesn't break all-time Steam records when it gets pre-released. It doesn't have all of the hype and accessibility. Like, I wouldn't have played it by now. Tons of people wouldn't have played it by now if it wasn't free to play. They'd be waiting. They'd hear, oh, this thing's got an issue, this thing's not right, there's no forge mode, there's no campaign co-op at launch, I'm going to wait, I'm not giving them $60. It just doesn't work. You need less barriers to entry, and the game has to be free to play. So these people are correlating that I'd rather have just paid $60 rather than just have this current mess of a battle pass and customization. But the thing is, there's no guarantee that if this game had cost $60, that they wouldn't have sold you stuff in a shop, which, let's be honest, every game, paid or not, has a shop these days. And they definitely would have hidden customization behind money. Now, there might have been more customization available without spending money from the get-go if the game was $60. But it's just the way things are these days. The game's going free to play, everything's going free to play, and this is the monetization we've got. I don't honestly think paying $60 would even change it that much. You might get a few more skins and a few more perks for the game being $60. The greater picture for the people that make Halo is, well, these players that play Halo and have paid $60 might have a much better time, but we're going to have a lot less players and we're going to have a lot less money coming in if we do this route, and they just can't justify it. And part of that makes complete sense, and part of that is a bit of a shame. Let me know what you think about that. Would you have rather have just paid $60 to have more options, or would you rather have the game to be free to play and you have to earn and sometimes purchase some cosmetics that you enjoy? All right, that was it. That was my first ever Halo Infinite news video. Let me know how it did. Leave a comment, leave a like. Check out the videos, check out Instagram, Twitter. I've got 11 Twitter followers, guys. We need more Twitter followers. I'm close to 12,000 on YouTube. I've just started a TikTok and Instagram. Check me out on the socials, links below. Leave a comment, leave a like. Let me know if you want to see more of this, you know. I'm not super familiar with Halo, but I'm getting into it, and I do enjoy doing these kind of videos, and I think people enjoy watching them. So this will be kind of hard to get into the algorithm. This will be hard to title because I'm not too sure what to title it because there's a lot of stuff going on. So if you have enjoyed it and you want to help the video get out there, give it a share, give it a like and a comment, maybe share it in a Discord or on your Twitter page. It all helps trying to just get me out there, so appreciate that.